welcome back. We're doing the exercises in chapter 5.3. This is part 3. Alright, so we did part 1 and 2 earlier. Hopefully you've taken the time to watch those. We're gonna be on page 296, and we're gonna do 5a. So in 5a, it wants us to find the area of a square tile. So let's see here. And the square tile, well, first off, what is area? Area equals of a square, area equals s squared, okay? And they told us that the side is 1 1/2, which is, as an improper fraction, 3/2. So what we have to do is we have to rewrite this as area equals 3/2 squared. And that's really 3 squared divided by 2 squared, which equals 9 over 4. And then we want to change this to a mixed number. So how many times does 4 go into 9? Well, it goes into 9 a total of 2 times. And then there's going to be a remainder of 1. So it's 2 1/4. And how do I know it's a remainder of 1? If you want to double check, you can do it with long division, but basically 2 times 4 is 8, and then you minus 8 from 9, and you have a 1, alright? And 4 doesn't go into 1, so it's a remainder, and that remainder 1 is divided by the 4, so it's 2 1/4, okay? That's the area, and it's in feet, so it's going to be feet squared. So here's your answer. Alright, moving forward, let's go to 6. So in 6, on page 297, it talks about how you are working in your uncle's cabinet shop, and you are cutting out pieces of wood from an 8-foot long board, okay? So it's 8-foot long board, and you're cutting out 5 1/4 inches of wood, okay? That's how big the piece of wood is. And you're going to cut out as many as you can from that 8-foot long board, okay? However, you need to take into account that you're wasting 1/8 of an inch of wood every time you make a cut. And why is that the case? Well, that's the case because when you are, cutting from a board, and say this is 5 1/4 inches, okay? Then there's going to be a small section where the blade goes through, okay? That blade has a width of 1/8 of an inch. So the sawdust, if you've ever done cabinetry, that sawdust is that wasted board. It's that piece of board that's been wasted because the saw had to remove that section of the board in order to get this piece of wood up here, okay? So anyway, so basically every time you make a cut, you're going to be taking out the sum of these two numbers. So what is the sum of those two numbers? Well, that's 5 1/4 plus 1/8. All right, we need to change this fraction right here so that we have two fractions that share the same denominator. Well, 8 is the common denominator, all right? And so we just need to multiply the 1/4 by 2 on top and bottom. So let's do that. So times this by 2 and this by 2. Oops, that doesn't look good. There we go. So let's rewrite that as 5 2/8 plus 1/8. So that equals 5 3/8, okay? So every time you make a 5 1/4 inch piece of wood, or take that much wood, 5 1/4 inches from this board. This board is not to scale, but if this board is technically supposed to be 8 feet long, then you're going to be removing in total 5 3/8 inches, because you have to take into account the width of the saw. Anyway, so we have an 8-foot board, all right? And what are we dealing with? We're dealing with inches right now. So we can either stay in inches or we can move to feet, okay? This can be moved to feet, or we could move the 8-foot board to inches, and I think we're going to do that. So how many inches are in a foot? Well, there's 12. So we have 8 feet and 12 inches, so we need to do 8 times 12, which is 96. So let's use a different color. 96, okay? 96 inches is how long the board is, okay? And you're going to be dividing from 96, you're going to be dividing 5 3/8 from it. All right. So in order to divide, let's change this to an improper fraction. What's 5 3/8? Well, 8 times 5 is 40, plus 3 is 43. 43 over 8. So it's going to be 96. 96, all right, divided by 43 over 8. Now, when we divide a fraction, we need to flip it and times this by its reciprocal. So let's change that. It's 96 times 8 over 43. Okay, so now the question at hand is, can we reduce anything? And in this case, we cannot. There's nothing we can reduce. We can't factor out anything. So we're just going to time straight across. So 96 times 8. Let's make some room. We're running out of room. Okay. 96 times 8. Well, let's do this the way that I've taught you before. 96 times 8. We can change this 96 into 90 plus 6. And then we can distribute. All right, so let's do that. 8 times 9 is 72 plus 0, so it's 720. All right, and then 8 times 6 is going to be a 48. So it's going to be 768, I believe, all over. Now let's change that. Let's just use the same two colors we have. So 768 over 43. Okay. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to decide how many times 43 goes into this number up here. Because the reason we need to do that is because we want to make this into a mixed number. We want to know how many pieces can be cut from an 8-foot long board before there's no more board left. All right, so let's change this to an improper fraction. Let's change this improper fraction to a mixed number, I meant to say. All right, so here we go. It's going to be 43 on the outside. On the inside is going to be 768. All right, and so how many times does 43 go into 7? It doesn't. But how many times does 43 go into 76? Well, it's just one time. So let's put that down. It goes into it once. I think we don't have enough room, so we're going to make a little bit more room. Okay. So it goes into once, and so it's 43. Okay. So then we have 6 minus 3 is 3, and 7 minus 4 is 3. Then we bring down the 8 right here. Okay, so how many times does 43 go into 338? Well, we can kind of estimate if we change this 4 in our brains, right? Or if you put it on paper, you could change this 43 to 40. And 40 times what is close to this number? Well, 40 times 8 is 320. So maybe 8 will go into this. Let's try it out. I doubt it though, but we'll try it out. So 43 times 8, that's going to be 4, 24, carry the 2, this times this is 32, plus, so yeah, 32 plus 2 is 34, so it's a little too big. So, but that gives us an idea of where we're at. So now we just need to know that, now we know that we can't do 8, so now we're pretty certain that we can do 7. That's 21, carry the 2, carry the 2, so now 7 times 4 is 28, plus 2 is 30. So 301. So let's put 301 here. And this is 7. And this is 3. And that's 0. So the remainder, oh, we need to put a 7 up here too. Just make sure that we have that. So we have a remainder of 37. Alright. So we divide that by 43. And that's as far as we can go. We can't simplify it. So the answer to the question is we can cut it. We can get 17 pieces, 17 and 37 43rd pieces of wood. That's what we can get. Okay. All right, we're going to put it on pause, and then we should be able to finish this whole thing up with one more video. All right. Apologize about that distraction a second ago. It's just a little reminder from my computer. All right, so here we go.